The Journey of Consciousness, from Śūnya to Moksha. Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi. Restraints, ethical standards, observances, disciplines, postures, seat, breath control, sensory withdrawal, concentration, meditation, absorption, enlightenment. Krishna looked at Kumar with calm eyes. The forest was quiet. After a long pause, he said, "Kumar, your questions are not ordinary questions. They are the questions that arise when the mind becomes mature. These questions are not about information. They are about truth. Why the mind is never fully satisfied." Krishna began gently. The human mind is designed to seek. It moves toward pleasure, security, recognition, knowledge, achievement. Each time it reaches a goal, satisfaction appears, but it does not last. Why? Because the mind tries to find permanent fulfillment in temporary things. Success changes circumstances, but it doesn't remove the sense of incompleteness inside. That sense of incompleteness is what drives further desire. This is not a flaw, it is evolution. It pushes consciousness to ask deeper questions. Why fear, anxiety, and attachment continue? Krishna explained, as long as a person identifies with the body and mind as the self, fear will exist. The body is temporary. The mind changes constantly. Situations are unstable. If identity is built on unstable foundations, insecurity naturally arises. Attachment forms because the mind tries to secure happiness to external objects. Anger arises when expectations are broken. Anxiety appears when the future feels uncertain. These are not random problems. They are consequences of identification with limited identity. Who am I truly? Krishna became very still before answering this one. You are not merely the body. The body changes. You are not merely the thoughts. Thoughts come and go. You are the awareness in which body and thoughts appear. That awareness does not change. It observes childhood, adulthood, emotions, memories, dreams, yet it remains constant. The sages called this awareness Atman, the true self. What is the purpose of life? Krishna said, there are two levels of purpose. 1. Relative purpose. In daily life, to grow, to learn, to contribute, to love, to evolve. 2. Ultimate purpose. To realize your true nature as awareness itself. When a person understands their true nature, fear reduces, clarity increases, compassion expands. Life becomes conscious rather than reactive. What is suffering? Krishna explained, suffering arises from misunderstanding. Specifically, believing the temporary is permanent, believing the changing is stable, believing the limited is the infinite. When desires clash with reality, pain occurs. When identity is rooted in impermanence, fear arises. Suffering is not punishment. It is misalignment. Operation. What is liberation? Krishna answered calmly. Liberation is freedom from misidentification. It is not escaping the world. It is seeing clearly. When a person realizes, I am awareness, not the limited mind, then fear decreases, attachment loosens, anger reduces, confusion fades. This state is called Moksha, or liberation. What is God? Kumar asked softly. Krishna replied, different traditions describe God differently, because language is limited. Some say, God is creator, God is personal, God is formless, God is energy, God is consciousness, God is love. In deeper philosophy, God is understood as the ultimate reality, the source from which everything arises. Different cultures use different symbols, but the intention is often pointing toward the same underlying truth. What is consciousness? Krishna explained, consciousness is the capacity to know. It is the field in which thoughts appear, perceptions arise, experiences unfold. Without consciousness, nothing could be experienced. Consciousness is not an object. It is the background of all objects. Why do religions and philosophies differ? Krishna smiled gently. Because humans have different languages, cultures, histories, and temperaments. Some paths emphasize devotion, some emphasize meditation, some emphasize service, some emphasize knowledge, some emphasize discipline. But all traditions are pointing towards similar core realizations: self-knowledge, compassion, truth, inner freedom. Differences are often in method, not necessarily in ultimate direction. Unrelationable. What is the final truth? Krishna became very quiet. After a moment he said, "The final truth cannot be fully described. Words belong to the mind. The final truth is experienced beyond thought." But he continued, "At the deepest level, there is only one reality. Some call it consciousness, awareness, Brahman, God, emptiness, truth. Names differ, but the experience points toward unity beyond separation." Unrelationable. All great spiritual systems, Vedas, Upanishads, Yoga, Bhagavad Gita, Tantra, Vedanta, and others, attempt to answer one central question: what is real? And who are you within that reality? Some emphasize ritual, some emphasize meditation, some emphasize devotion, some emphasize philosophy, but their deeper purpose is the same: to guide human consciousness toward clarity and liberation.
Krishna looked at Kumar and said, "Kumar, your questions arise because your awareness is becoming mature. When a person stops being satisfied only with external success, the search for truth begins. This search itself is sacred." The fire in the lamp flickered softly. Krishna concluded, "Do not rush to believe any system blindly. Study carefully, practice sincerely, observe directly, and most importantly, investigate your own awareness. For when you know the knower, all questions find their resolution." Kumar sat silently, not seeking answers anymore, but beginning to look within. Krishna sat quietly for a moment before speaking again. The wind moved gently through the trees. "Kumar," he said, "listen carefully. This is not a criticism of the world. It is a description of how the mind works. Why external success does not end restlessness." Krishna explained, human beings naturally seek happiness outside, in objects, relationships, achievements, and experiences. This is normal. The senses are designed to engage the world. When wealth is gained, status increases, pleasure is experienced, goals are achieved, there is temporary satisfaction, but it does not last. Why? Because the mind itself continues to exist, with its patterns of desire and comparison. As long as the sense of "I am this limited body-mind" remains unexamined, new desires will arise. The objects change, but the seeking mechanism remains. Unrelationable. The root cause, misidentification. Krishna continued, "Suffering does not come from the world itself. The world contains change, growth, decay, uncertainty. These are natural processes. The problem begins when the mind assumes, 'I am only this body. My happiness depends on external conditions. I must secure permanence in a changing world.' This misunderstanding creates anxiety, because the body ages, because situations shift, because relationships change, because life is uncertain. If identity is built on impermanence, insecurity is unavoidable." Why fear remains even after achievement? Krishna explained calmly. Achievement may reduce one type of insecurity, but it does not remove the deeper sense of vulnerability. The body can still become ill. The future is still uncertain. Control is limited. Time continues moving. No external achievement can stop aging or death. The mind senses this, even subconsciously. Therefore, even successful individuals can feel restlessness. This does not mean success is meaningless. It simply means success alone cannot solve existential uncertainty. The difference between pleasure and fulfillment. Pleasure is sensory and temporary. Fulfillment is deeper. Pleasure depends on conditions, objects, experiences. Fulfillment depends on understanding, awareness, inner clarity. Pleasure fades when conditions change. Fulfillment remains when understanding deepens. Ignorance of true nature. Krishna emphasized, the root lies in ignorance, not intellectual ignorance, but existential ignorance. This means not knowing who you truly are, what consciousness is, what reality is. When a person believes they are only the changing personality, fear naturally arises. When a person begins to realize they are the awareness in which change appears, stability increases. This realization reduces inner conflict. Krishna told a story. A great actor plays many roles on stage: king, beggar, warrior. If the actor forgets they are acting, they may suffer according to the role. But when they remember, "I am not the role, I am the actor," then the drama continues, but inner identification weakens. Similarly, life continues, but suffering reduces when identity shifts from role to awareness. Story: the dream. When someone dreams, they may experience fear,
but upon waking, they realized the dream was temporary. From the waking perspective, dream suffering was not ultimate. Krishna implied that realization of true nature is like waking from misidentification. What changes with self-knowledge? When a person begins to understand their deeper nature, fear decreases, attachment loosens, anger reduces, clarity increases, compassion grows, not because the world becomes perfect, but because perception becomes clearer. Does this mean the world is false? Krishna clarified, no, the world functions within reality. Change, time, and physical processes are real at their level. But suffering arises when we expect permanence from impermanence. Understanding this removes unnecessary mental conflict. Krishna summarized, the mind remains restless because it searches for permanent happiness in temporary experiences. The solution is not to reject the world. It is to understand your true nature. When awareness recognizes itself, the search changes. The lamp flickered gently. Krishna concluded, Kumar, the external world can provide experiences, but lasting peace comes from insight. When ignorance of your true nature dissolves, fear loses its foundation. Then, life is no longer driven by anxiety. It flows with understanding. Kumar remained silent, not resisting the world, not escaping it. Krishna sat calmly and said, Kumar, the Vedas are not merely books. They are expressions of insight, different ways the earliest sages explored reality. They did not separate life into sacred and non-sacred. For them, existence itself was holy. The unified vision of the early sages, Krishna explained. The early seers observed nature deeply. Sky, fire, wind, breath, seasons, consciousness. They saw patterns everywhere. They concluded, reality is not random, it is intelligent. Because of this insight, they did not divide nature from spirit, science from spirituality, cosmos from consciousness. Everything was seen as interconnected. This vision became the foundation of Vedic thought. Krishna said, the Rig Veda is the earliest layer of Vedic wisdom. It contains hymns of wonder and inquiry. The sages asked fundamental questions such as, what existed before creation? What is the source of existence? Who sustains the universe? What is the nature of consciousness? These hymns express awe toward cosmic intelligence. Rig Veda states that truth is one, though expressed in many ways. This principle encouraged openness toward multiple philosophical viewpoints. The Rig Veda is therefore known for cosmology, poetic hymns, philosophical questioning, reverence for natural forces as expressions of deeper reality. 2. Samaveda. Krishna continued. The Samaveda developed the science of sacred sound. While the Rig Veda focused on hymns, the Samaveda emphasized musical arrangement and chanting. From this tradition developed structured melodies, ritual chanting, sound precision, resonance awareness. This contributed significantly to mantra tradition, devotional singing, and later practices such as nada-based meditation. The key insight: sound influences consciousness. Music became a spiritual technology. Sound as bridge. Krishna explained, when sound is used consciously, it becomes a bridge. Sound connects physical vibration, emotional states, mental focus, spiritual awareness. This understanding influenced later yogic and meditative systems. 3. Yajurveda. Krishna said, the Yajurveda focuses on ritual action. It provides formulas and instructions for ceremonies. The rituals involve offerings into sacred fire, symbolic acts of harmony with cosmic forces. It is the offering of ego, selfishness, ignorance, attachment. Fire came to symbolize awareness. Offering came to symbolize surrender of ego, ignorance, attachment, etc. Cut to Atharva Veda. Krishna explained, the Atharva Veda explored practical and experiential knowledge. It contains teachings related to healing practices, protection rituals, psychological understanding, early medicine, daily life guidance. Gradually, traditions evolved: Ayurveda, yogic psychology, tantric systems of energy understanding. Unlike purely cosmic hymns, this text addressed human well-being directly. It bridged spirituality and practical life. Unseen, the evolution of understanding, Krishna summarized. Over time, Vedic insight evolved in layers. 1. Wonder about the cosmos. 2. Understanding of sacred sound. 3. Symbolic interpretation of ritual. 4. Practical healing and psychological insight. The deeper unifying theme, Krishna said, all 4 Vedas share one underlying direction. They explore reality, consciousness, order, sound, transformation, and liberation. Though their approaches differ, their aim is similar: to understand the nature of existence and human awareness. Why this matters? Kumar asked, why did this tradition become so influential? Krishna replied, because it combined philosophical inquiry, sound science, ritual psychology, and practical life wisdom. It did not separate knowledge from living. It treated breath, speech, ethics, meditation, community, and cosmos as interconnected. Krishna concluded, the earliest sages did not see spirituality as separate from life. To them, the universe was sacred, sound was sacred, thought was sacred, and awareness itself was sacred. They were not escaping existence. They were trying to understand it deeply. And from this deep inquiry, one of the world's oldest philosophical traditions emerged. Kumar listened quietly, realizing that what he had thought of as mythology was actually a vast system of inquiry into reality itself. Krishna spoke slowly. Kumar, before people debated morality, before laws were written, before philosophy became formal, the sages observed something fundamental in nature. They called it Rit. What is Rit? Krishna explained. Rit means the underlying order that makes the universe function coherently. It is cosmic harmony, natural law, rhythmic balance, truth as alignment with reality. The early seers did not see the world as random. They saw patterns everywhere, in the movement of stars, in seasons, in breath, in life cycles. They concluded that existence follows a consistent principle. That principle was called Rit. Rit in nature. Krishna continued. Look at the sky. The sun rises and sets regularly. The moon waxes and wanes. Seasons change in sequence. Gravity holds objects. Breath follows rhythm. The body grows, matures, and declines. These are not accidents. They follow lawfulness. The sages saw this lawful pattern and recognized it as Rit, the intelligence that sustains order. Rit and truth, Krishna said. In the Vedic understanding, truth is not just speech. Truth means alignment with reality. If someone speaks in harmony with reality, that is truth. If someone lives in harmony with reality, that is art in action. Art is not merely moral behavior. It is universal coherence. Rit and morality. Kumar asked, how does morality come from cosmic order? Krishna replied, when humans live in alignment with art, harmony increases. When they act against harmony, disorder increases. Morality developed as a way to maintain social and inner balance. Thus, ethical principles were not arbitrary rules. They were reflections of cosmic harmony applied to human behavior. From Rit to Dharma, Krishna explained, as human societies evolved, the understanding of Rit became more practical and structured. This gave rise to Dharma. Dharma means righteous duty, sustaining principle, ethical responsibility, right action according to context. While Rit is cosmic order itself, Dharma is how humans participate in that order consciously. Rit is universal law. Dharma is living in alignment with it. Story, the river. Krishna told a story. That flow is art. If someone blocks the river, flooding occurs. The natural direction of flow represents cosmic order. When humans align with that order, life flows smoothly. When they resist it, conflict appears. From Rit to karma, Krishna continued. From the recognition of order came understanding of action and consequence, known as karma. Karma means action and its resulting effect. The sages observed, every action creates consequences. Just as physical actions have physical effects, mental and moral actions also produce results. This was not punishment. It was the law of continuity within Rit. Karma operates because the universe is structured, not random. Story, the seed. Krishna said, if you plant a mango seed, a mango tree grows, not a coconut tree, not a random result. Order governs growth. Similarly, intentional actions produce corresponding outcomes. This is karma within cosmic order. The relationship between Ut, Dharma, and karma. Krishna summarized carefully. Ut is the fundamental cosmic harmony. Dharma is living alignment with that harmony. Karma is the principle that actions within that harmony produce consequences.
Together, they form an integrated understanding of reality.
Ut and consciousness. Kumar asked, "Does ut apply to the mind too?" Krishna replied, "Yes. Thoughts follow patterns, emotions follow rhythms, awareness follows laws of attention. When consciousness aligns with truth, clarity arises. When it deviates, confusion increases. Even inner life reflects order." Why this was important? Krishna said, the discovery of ut changed civilization. It encouraged ethical living, responsibility, self-awareness, harmony with nature, reverence for natural cycles. It shaped later philosophical systems in India. Over time, ut evolved conceptually into dharma and karma frameworks. Final insight. Krishna concluded, the sages did not invent morality randomly. They observed order in the universe. They realized humans are part of that order. So they taught, live in alignment with reality. When human action harmonizes with cosmic order, life becomes balanced. When action opposes harmony, disturbance arises. Ut is the recognition that existence is structured, meaningful, and coherent. Kumar bowed slightly, understanding that morality, nature, and consciousness were never separate in this vision. They were expressions of one underlying order. Krishna spoke calmly. Kumar, human beings naturally begin their spiritual journey outside. At first, they look for sacredness in objects, places, and actions. This is not wrong, it is a stage of growth. Now, Krishna explained, in ancient times, people performed rituals, fire ceremonies, offerings, temple worship, sacred gatherings. These practices created focus, discipline, community, gratitude, reverence for nature. They helped humans recognize that life is larger than personal desire. External rituals trained the mind toward respect and order. Why rituals were important? Krishna continued, ritual is symbolic education. For example, offering into fire symbolizes surrender, lighting a lamp symbolizes awareness, bowing symbolizes humility, chanting symbolizes alignment of speech and mind. These actions shape inner attitudes. So rituals were not meaningless. They were tools for transformation. Krishna said, gently, the great sages did not stop at outer practice. Through deep meditation and self-inquiry, they discovered something profound. Consciousness itself is the true sacred space, not a building, not an object, not a location, but awareness. The real temple. Krishna explained, a temple is a structure that contains sacred space, but without awareness, even the most beautiful temple is empty. The sages realized, consciousness is the space in which thoughts arise, emotions move, experiences unfold, rituals are performed. Therefore, consciousness is the fundamental sacred ground. Shift from outer to inner, Krishna continued, spiritual evolution is a movement from dependence to direct realization. First, people rely on external forms. Later, they begin to understand that the divine is not limited to forms. Eventually, they recognize that the same awareness present in meditation is present in daily life. Thus, spirituality becomes internalized. Krishna told a story. A person searches for their reflection everywhere. They look in rivers, in paintings, in shadows. But the reflection exists only in a mirror. Similarly, truth is not found in objects themselves, but in the awareness that perceives objects. Consciousness is that mirror. Under story, the lamp inside the house. If a house is dark, bringing light from outside helps. But once the lamp is inside, there is no need to search elsewhere. External practices are like bringing light in. Inner realization is like discovering the lamp already present within. Krishna explained, the sages promoted rituals to evolve the society. They explained, the fire ritual symbolizes inner transformation. The temple represents the body. The offering represents ego surrender. The pilgrimage represents inner journey. Everything external pointed inward. Understood. Consciousness as sacred space. Krishna said, consciousness is the only place where experience happens. Without awareness, no ritual can be performed, no mantra can be heard, no meditation can occur. Therefore, awareness is primary. When spirituality becomes inward, it focuses on self-inquiry, meditation, observation of mind, understanding awareness itself. Understood. The ocean and the waves. Krishna continued, people first look at waves, later they understand Waves are movements of the ocean. Finally, they realize the ocean is not separate from water. Similarly, forms are not separate from consciousness. Why this shift was revolutionary, Krishna explained. This inward turn transformed spirituality from external ceremony to direct experience. It emphasized meditation, introspection, realization, awareness of the self. This development influenced Upanishadic teachings, yoga philosophy, Vedanta, later contemplative traditions. The essence, Krishna concluded, ritual prepares the mind, but realization happens in consciousness. When attention turns inward, the seeker discovers the very awareness in which seeking occurs. That awareness is the true temple, and when one recognizes this, spirituality becomes a living experience, not merely an external act. Kumar sat quietly, realizing that the journey had moved from outer forms toward inner awareness, and that the deepest sacred space was not a building, but the mind itself becoming clear. Krishna became very still before speaking. Kumar, the Upanishads did not begin with rituals, they began with inquiry. They asked questions not about the world, but about the one who experiences the world. That shift changed philosophy forever. Kumar understanding on rituals. They discovered that the ultimate truth is not something to be worshipped only externally. It is something to be realized directly. Their central method was not ritual alone, but deep self-inquiry. The most powerful question they asked was, who am I? Not as philosophy, but as investigation. Atman, the true self. Krishna explained, the Upanishads examined identity carefully. People usually identify with the body, thoughts, emotions, social roles, memories, achievements. But they observe something important. All of these change. The body grows and ages. Thoughts appear and disappear. Emotions fluctuate. Social identities evolve. If something changes, it cannot be your deepest, unchanging essence. Therefore, the sages looked for what does not change. They called this unchanging reality Atman. Atman means the true self, pure awareness, the witnessing consciousness, the inner observer. It is not a personality, it is the field in which personality appears, the screen in the movie. Krishna told Kumar, when you watch a movie you see joy and sorrow on the screen, but the screen itself is unaffected. Similarly, experiences change, but awareness remains constant. Atman is like the screen, life is like the movie. The witness. When you observe your thoughts, who is observing? That observing presence is not a thought, it is awareness itself. The Upanishads concluded, the deepest identity is the witness. Brahman, the absolute. Krishna continued, the sages did not stop at discovering the inner self. They asked, is this awareness limited to one person? Their realization expanded. They concluded that the same awareness underlying the individual also underlies the universe. They called this ultimate reality Brahman. Brahman means infinite consciousness, ultimate reality, timeless existence, boundless intelligence, the ground of being. Not a separate God among others, but the underlying principle of existence itself. Story, space, and pots. Krishna said, imagine many pots filled with space. Each pot seems separate, but the space inside is the same space everywhere. When a pot breaks, space does not change. Similarly, individual awareness and universal awareness are not fundamentally different. Story, ocean, and drops. Drops appear separate, but all are water. Individual consciousness and cosmic consciousness differ only in apparent limitation. The greatest realization. Krishna spoke softly. Atman and Brahman are not two. The inner self and ultimate reality are one. This realization is expressed as Atman equals Brahman. This is not a belief. It is a state of direct understanding. When ignorance dissolves, the sense of separation dissolves. What remains is non-dual awareness. The Mahavakyas, great declarations. Krishna explained that the Upanishads express their highest realization in short statements called Mahavakyas. These are not slogans. 1. Tat Twamasi, from the Chandogya Upanishad, meaning, that thou art. It means, the essential nature of the individual is the same as ultimate reality. The Chandogya Upanishad is one of the principal Upanishads of the Vedic tradition, and it contains one of the most famous teachings in Indian philosophy, Tat Twamasi. Krishna explained it to Kumar in simple language. Meaning of Tat Twamasi. Literally, Tat equals that. Ultimate reality Brahman. Twam equals you. Or so it means, you are that. It declares that the deepest essence of the individual is not separate from ultimate reality. What is that? In the Upanishadic context, that refers to Brahman, the infinite, timeless, all-pervading reality. Brahman is described as pure existence, pure consciousness, unlimited, not confined to form, beyond ordinary description. It is not a personal object in the world. It is the fundamental ground of reality. What is you? You refers not to the body, personality, thoughts, emotions, social identity. It refers to the inner witnessing awareness, known as Atman. Atman is the observer of experience, the awareness behind thoughts, the constant presence in all states of waking, dreaming, and deep sleep. The core insight Tat Tvam Asi teaches, the individual consciousness Atman and ultimate reality Brahman are not fundamentally separate. The sense of separation is due to ignorance. This teaching is central to Vedanta philosophy. Story: The Wave and the Ocean. Krishna said, a wave thinks it is separate. The wave rises, falls, changes form, but its substance is water. When the wave realizes it is water, nothing new is created, only misunderstanding disappears. Similarly, Tat Tvam Asi suggests that the individual is not separate from the infinite. How realization happens. This teaching is not just intellectual. It becomes real through ethical living, self-inquiry, meditation, removal of ignorance, and inner clarity. Traditions like Dhyana, knowledge, use discrimination to understand this truth directly. Important clarification. Tat Tvam Asi does not mean the body is God, the ego is God, or every thought is ultimate reality. It means the deepest, unchanging awareness within you is identical with the ultimate ground of existence. Why it is considered a Mahavakya. Tat Tvam Asi is one of the major declarations, Mahavakyas, of the Upanishads. It summarizes the non-dual vision of reality found in many interpretations of Advaita Vedanta. In simple terms, Krishna explained to Kumar, you search for truth outside, but the truth is the awareness through which you search. When this is directly realized, fear decreases, separation dissolves, and liberation is understood as recognition. That recognition is called Moksha. All three traditions accept the authority of the Chandogya Upanishad, but they understand the sentence in distinct ways. What changes after this realization? Krishna said, when this understanding becomes direct experience, fear decreases, ego softens, compassion increases, attachment weakens, inner stability grows. Life continues, but identity changes. These teachings do not deny the world. They do not reject experience. They reveal that experience arises within awareness. The goal is not to escape life. It is to understand the nature of reality clearly. Krishna looked at Kumar and said, the Upanishads discovered that the ultimate truth is not external. It is not in distant heavens. It is not confined to rituals. It is the awareness in which all experiences appear. When a person realizes this directly, separation ends and understanding becomes complete. Kumar sat quietly. The question, who am I, now felt deeper than philosophy. It felt like the doorway to realization itself. Krishna did not answer immediately. He looked at the river flowing nearby and said, Kumar, this question is very important. Many misunderstand it. If reality is one, why does it appear divided? What is Maya? Krishna explained carefully. Maya does not mean the world is fake. It means perception is limited. Maya is the power by which the one reality appears as many. The infinite appears as finite. The timeless appears as time-bound. It is not illusion in the sense of non-existence. It is misinterpretation, like seeing one rope and thinking it is many strands in darkness. The rope is real, but perception is incomplete. Story: The Rope and the Snake. Krishna said, in dim light, a person sees a rope and becomes afraid, thinking it is a snake. The snake was not truly there, but the rope was real. The problem was not reality. The problem was mistaken perception. When light appears, the misunderstanding disappears instantly. Similarly, Maya disappears when knowledge arises. What is separation? Krishna continued, separation is experienced because consciousness identifies with forms. When awareness identifies with body, name, thoughts, memories, it begins to feel separate from others. But forms are temporary appearances. Awareness itself is continuous. What is avidya? Krishna said, The deeper cause of separation is avidya. Avidya means ignorance, not knowing, misunderstanding of reality. It is not lack of information, it is misidentification. Specifically, humans mistake temporary things as permanent, changing experiences as the self, mental activity as consciousness itself. Mistake 1, temporary for eternal. The body is temporary, emotions are temporary, thoughts are temporary, but people often try to find permanent security in them. This creates fear, because temporary things cannot provide permanent stability. Mistake 2, ego for self. Krishna explained, the ego is the sense of I built from memories, roles, preferences, identity stories. It is useful for daily life, but it is not the deepest reality. When people believe, my ego is my true self, they feel threatened by change. Mistake 3, mind for consciousness. Thoughts arise and disappear. Consciousness is the background in which thoughts appear. When someone believes, I am only my thoughts, then every thought becomes personal identity. This creates confusion. When thoughts are seen as objects within awareness, clarity increases. Story, the movie screen. Krishna said, a movie shows many characters. The screen appears as mountains, rivers, storms, cities, but the screen itself does not change. The screen represents consciousness. The movie represents experience. Avidya is forgetting the screen and believing only the movie is real. Story, the mirror. The mirror does not become those images. If the reflection is beautiful, the mirror does not become proud. If the reflection is distorted, the mirror does not become ashamed. Similarly, consciousness remains unchanged by experiences. How Maya works. Krishna clarified, Maya operates through perception. The senses interpret the world. The mind categorizes it. Memory adds interpretation. Desire adds preference. Together, these create a sense of, I am separate from the rest. But separation is a constructed experience, not ultimate reality. Is Maya evil? Kumar asked, is Maya something negative? Krishna replied, no. Maya is a power of manifestation. Without it, diversity would not appear, experience would not exist, learning would not occur. Maya allows one reality to appear as many forms. The issue is not Maya itself. The issue is confusion about its nature. Story. The dream. When you dream, you experience many characters and events. Inside the dream, everything feels real. But upon waking, you realize it was one mind generating the entire experience. Similarly, separation feels real until deeper understanding awakens. What happens when avidya dissolves? Krishna said, when ignorance reduces, perception clarifies. The world remains, but interpretation changes. Instead of, I am separate from existence, one begins to perceive, I am awareness within which existence appears. Fear reduces, compassion increases, clarity deepens. A part of the purpose of spiritual practice. Krishna explained, meditation, self-inquiry, ethical living, and mindfulness are methods to reduce avidya. They help the mind become quiet enough to see clearly. When perception becomes transparent, Maya no longer confuses. Reality is seen as it is. Krishna concluded, reality is one. It appears many due to limited perception. Maya is the creative power of appearance. Avidya is the misunderstanding of that appearance. When knowledge arises, ignorance dissolves. Then the sense of separation fades, not because the world disappears, but because understanding becomes complete. The river continued flowing. Kumar realized that the question was not about changing the world, but about understanding perception itself. Krishna spoke slowly, so Kumar could reflect deeply. Kumar, understand this carefully. These teachings are not meant to create fear. They are meant to explain how experience unfolds. Karma. Krishna said, every intentional action creates an impression. An action is not only physical, it includes thoughts, speech, decisions, emotional reactions. Each action leaves a subtle trace in the mind. These traces shape future behavior. For example, repeated anger strengthens anger. Repeated kindness strengthens compassion. Repeated honesty strengthens clarity. Repeated dishonesty strengthens confusion. Over time, these patterns become personality. So karma is not reward or punishment. It is the natural law of cause and effect operating in consciousness. Just as a seed grows into a plant, actions grow into tendencies. Karma, the garden. Krishna said, imagine a garden. If you plant mango seeds, you will get mango trees. Thorn seeds, you will get thorn bushes. The garden does not judge, it simply grows according to what is planted. Similarly, the mind grows according to repeated actions. Karma is this continuity, a part of the purpose. Karma shapes experience. Krishna continued, our present tendencies are influenced by past habits. If a person repeatedly acts in certain ways, their preferences form, their reactions become automatic, their tendencies become patterns. A part of the purpose. Krishna said, imagine a garden. If you plant mango seeds, you will get mango trees. Thorn seeds, you will get thorn bushes. The garden does not judge. It simply grows according to what is planted. Similarly, the mind grows according to repeated actions. Their character stabilizes. This accumulation influences future experiences, not as fate imposed externally, but as patterns continuing internally. A part of the purpose. Samsara, Krishna explained, when ignorance and attachment persist, consciousness continues identifying with changing forms. This ongoing cycle of identification and action is called samsara. Samsara refers to birth, growth, aging, death, and repeated experience within time. It is not merely physical rebirth. It is the continuous movement of consciousness through changing identities. A part of the purpose. Story, the river in circles. Krishna said, imagine water flowing in a circular channel. Because of the structure, it keeps moving in loops. If the channel changes, the flow changes. Similarly, when consciousness identifies with limited forms, it experiences cycles of desire and fulfillment, gain and loss. This repetitive pattern is samsara. Why samsara continues? Krishna explained clearly. The cycle continues because of attachment and ignorance. Attachment binds attention to objects. Ignorance binds identity to the temporary. As long as one believes, I am this body-mind alone, fear of loss persists. Desire for continuity persists. These drive further action. Action creates further impressions. Impressions reinforce identity. Thus, the cycle continues. Moksha. Krishna then spoke gently. The purpose of spiritual knowledge is not belief. It is freedom. Moksha means liberation. Liberation from ignorance, misidentification, compulsive attachment, unnecessary suffering. It does not mean escaping existence. It means freedom from mental bondage. What is bondage? Krishna clarified. Bondage is not physical confinement. It is psychological dependence. When happiness depends entirely on external conditions, freedom is limited. When identity is restricted to the body and personality, fear arises naturally. Moksha is the recognition of deeper identity, awareness itself. Story, the dream awakening. Krishna said, in a dream you may feel trapped, but when you wake you realize you were never actually confined. Similarly, moksha is awakening from misidentification. The world continues, but the sense of limitation dissolves. What changes in moksha? Krishna explained, when realization deepens, fear reduces, compulsive desire weakens, inner stability increases, compassion grows naturally, actions become conscious rather than reactive. Life remains active, but suffering decreases. Relationship between karma and moksha. Karma operates within samsara. Samsara continues through ignorance. Moksha arises when ignorance dissolves. When awareness is understood directly, actions still occur, but they no longer bind identity. The chain weakens. Final insight. Krishna concluded, karma explains continuity. Samsara explains repetition. Moksha explains freedom. The purpose of these teachings is not to frighten. It is to show that suffering has a cause, and if there is a cause, there is also a path to freedom. When ignorance dissolves, identity expands. When identity expands, fear decreases. When fear decreases, compassion emerges. And when compassion stabilizes, life becomes harmonious. Kumar listened quietly, realizing that these concepts were not abstract philosophy, but a map explaining how experience itself unfolds and how freedom becomes possible. Krishna sat upright, closed his eyes briefly, and slowly chanted, Om. The sound was gentle, steady, and complete. After the vibration settled, he began to explain. What is Om? Om is not just a sound. It is a symbol of total reality. Om represents the entire structure of consciousness, from ordinary experience to the highest realization. It is considered the most complete sacred syllable because it contains all states of awareness. 3. Deep sleep state, Sushupti. In deep sleep, there are no dreams, no external awareness, no active thoughts. Yet when you wake up, you say, "I slept peacefully." This indicates awareness was present in a subtle form. This state corresponds to the sound, 4. Transcendence, Turiya. Krishna became very quiet before describing this. There is a fourth state, he said.
It is not waking, it is not dreaming, it is not deep sleep. It is the underlying awareness that observes all three. This state is called Turiya, the pure witnessing consciousness. In Om, this is represented by the silence after the sound.
Story: The river. Krishna explained, a river has three visible phases: flowing, still pools, and merging into the ocean. But the water itself remains the same throughout. Similarly, waking, dreaming, deep sleep are movements within awareness. The awareness itself remains unchanged. Om as total consciousness. Krishna said, when you chant Om completely, you symbolically move through all states of experience. From outward perception, to inward imagination, to unconscious rest, and finally, silent awareness. Om represents the entire spectrum of human consciousness. Story: The spectrum of light. White light contains all colors. When passed through a prism, it appears as different shades. Similarly, consciousness appears as different states, but it is one continuous reality. Why Om is considered sacred? Krishna explained, Om is sacred because it represents unity. It reminds the seeker, you are not limited to one state. You are the awareness present in all states. This understanding reduces identification with temporary experiences. Practice of Om. Krishna instructed, 1. Sit quietly. 2. Take a slow breath. 3. Chant Ah, open sound. Ooh, rounded sound. Then remain silent. Observe the vibration, the transition, the silence. Notice that awareness continues throughout. The silence after Om. Krishna emphasized, the silence after Om is not empty. It represents pure awareness. Sound arises, sound dissolves, but awareness remains. This silent awareness corresponds to transcendence, beyond ordinary states. Story: The screen again. Krishna said, like a movie playing on a screen, different scenes appear. But the screen does not change. Om symbolizes this entire process, appearance and disappearance, within one unchanging awareness. Krishna concluded, Om represents total consciousness, waking, dreaming, deep sleep, and the awareness beyond them. When you understand Om deeply, you understand the structure of experience itself. It is not merely a sound. It is a reminder that all states arise within one reality. Kumar listened in silence, sensing that Om was not something to believe, but something to experience. Krishna listened to Kumar's question and replied, You are asking about practical liberation. Good. Philosophy alone does not free anyone. Discipline and understanding together do. The central teaching. Krishna taught Sutra of Yoga. Yoga is the stilling of the movements of the mind. Not destruction, not repression, but clarity through stabilization. What is Chitta? Krishna said, Chitta is the entire mental field. It includes thoughts, emotions, memories, subconscious impressions, ego sense. Chitta is like a lake. When calm, it reflects the sky clearly. When disturbed, the reflection becomes distorted. What are vrittis? Vrittis are the movements within Chitta. They include fear, desire, imagination, anxiety, attraction, rejection, reactive patterns. Krishna explained, suffering does not come from the world alone. It comes from identification with these movements. When a person believes, I am this thought, or I am this emotion, confusion begins. What is Nirodha? Krishna clarified an important point. Nirodha does not mean suppression. It means regulation, refinement, stabilization, mastery. When the lake becomes still, it does not disappear. It becomes clear. Similarly, when mental fluctuations settle, awareness becomes unobstructed. Story: The dirty water. Krishna told a story, if water is muddy, you cannot see the bottom, But if you leave it undisturbed, the dirt settles naturally. The clarity was always there. It was covered by movement. Yoga works in the same way. The 5 roots of suffering, kleshas. Krishna explained 5 fundamental causes of suffering. Avidya, ignorance, misunderstanding reality, confusing temporary with permanent, mistaking the body-mind for the self. This is the root cause. Asmita, ego identification, the sense of I am this limited identity. It creates separation. Raga, attachment, clinging to pleasure, fear of losing desired experiences. Dvesha, aversion, strong rejection of unpleasant experiences. Both attachment and aversion bind attention. Abhinavisha, fear of death, deep instinctive fear of ending, fear of non-existence. Krishna said, these 5 create psychological bondage. Purusha and Prakriti. Krishna then explained the deeper framework. Purusha. Purusha means pure witnessing consciousness, awareness itself, the observer. It does not act. It does not change. It simply witnesses. Prakriti. Prakriti means nature, mental activity, body, emotions, personality, material world. Everything that changes belongs to Prakriti. The core problem. Krishna said suffering occurs when Purusha identifies with Prakriti. When awareness thinks, I am the body, I am the emotions, I am the thoughts, then it feels vulnerable. But when awareness recognizes itself as witness, freedom begins. Story. The actor in the role. Krishna explained, an actor plays many roles. In one film, hero, villain, king, beggar, the actor remains the same person. But if the actor forgets and believes the role is real identity, confusion arises. Purusha is the actor. Liberation occurs when the distinction is clearly understood. How liberation happens. Krishna summarized the process. 1. Understand the nature of mind, chitta. 2. Recognize mental movements, vrittis. 3. Practice stabilization, nirodha. 4. Identify the root causes, kleshas. 5. Distinguish awareness, purusha, from nature, prakriti. When identification stops, freedom appears naturally. What liberation is not? Krishna clarified. It is not escaping the world. It is not rejecting experience. It is not suppressing thoughts. It is understanding their nature. When understanding becomes stable, the mind functions without binding identity. Krishna concluded. Liberation is not something added. It is what remains when ignorance is removed. When the mind is steady, reality reflects clearly. When identification ends, awareness shines as it is. Kumar understood that liberation was not about going somewhere else, but about recognizing the difference between awareness and its temporary movements. Krishna looked at Kumar and said, now I will explain the path step by step. Liberation is not sudden. It is built through inner alignment. He was describing the system found in the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. This path is traditionally called Ashtanga Yoga, the Eightfold Path. 1. Yama, ethical foundation. Krishna said, without ethics, meditation becomes unstable. Yama is about how you relate to others and the world. The 5 yamas, ahimsa, non-violence, not harming others in thought, speech, or action. Violence creates inner agitation. Satya, truthfulness, alignment between inner reality and outer expression. Asteya, non-stealing, not taking what is not given, materially or mentally. Brahmacharya, energy mastery, conservation and intelligent use of vital energy. Aparigraha, non-possessiveness, freedom from excessive attachment to accumulation. Krishna explained, when conduct is balanced, the mind becomes peaceful. Story. The unsteady foundation. If a house is built on weak ground, even strong walls will crack. Ethics is that ground. Without stability in behavior, inner practice becomes disturbed by guilt, conflict, or restlessness. 2. Niyama, inner discipline. Krishna continued, Niyama refines the inner world. The 5 niyamas, shaucha, purity, clarity in body and mind. Santosha, contentment, accepting the present moment without constant dissatisfaction. Tapas, discipline, willing effort toward growth. Svadhyaya, self-study, reflection on scriptures and self-observation. Ishvara pranidhana, surrender, trust in a higher intelligence or ultimate reality. Krishna said, these practices shape character from within. 3. Asana, steady posture. Krishna explained, asana means stable and comfortable posture. The goal is not physical display. It is stillness,
alertness, relaxation without collapse. When the body is steady, the mind becomes easier to observe.
Story, the still lamp. A lamp placed in wind flickers. When placed in a protected space, the flame burns steadily. A steady posture stabilizes attention. 4. Pranayama, breath regulation. Krishna said breath connects body and mind. Breathing influences nervous system, emotional state, mental clarity. When breath becomes smooth, thoughts also settle. The 3 processes. Inhalation, receiving energy. Kumbhaka, retention, stillness between inhale and exhale. Rechaka, exhalation, releasing tension. Krishna explained, in the pause, kumbhaka, the mind becomes quiet. Story, the tuning instrument. A musical instrument must be tuned before playing. Breath is the tuning process of the nervous system. 5. Pratyahara, withdrawal of senses. Krishna said, normally the senses pull attention outward. Pratyahara means reducing compulsive distraction, controlling sensory overload, turning awareness inward. Not rejecting the world, but mastering attention. Story, the turtle. When a turtle withdraws its limbs, it becomes protected. Similarly, attention withdrawn from constant stimulation becomes stable. 6. Dharana, concentration. Krishna explained, Dharana means fixing the mind on one point. This could be breath, mantra, image, inner light, or awareness itself. One-pointed focus strengthens mental stability. 7. Dhyana, meditation. Krishna said, when concentration becomes effortless continuity, it becomes meditation. In Dharana, attention is directed. In Dhyana, attention flows naturally without interruption. The mind becomes steady like a continuous stream. 8. Samadhi, absorption. Krishna spoke softly. In Samadhi, observer and observed appear to merge. There is no division between meditator, object of meditation. Only pure awareness remains. This is not unconsciousness. It is heightened clarity without mental disturbance. Story, salt in water. When salt dissolves in water, you cannot separate it. Similarly, when meditation deepens, the sense of duality dissolves. Kaivalya, absolute freedom. Krishna concluded, the ultimate goal of yoga is Kaivalya. Kaivalya means complete independence of awareness, freedom from identification with mental fluctuations, liberation from bondage. It is the state where consciousness understands itself fully and is no longer confused with changing phenomena. Krishna summarized the journey: ethics, stability, discipline, purification, posture, physical readiness, breath, mental calm, sense control, inner focus, concentration, one-pointedness, meditation, continuous awareness, samadhi, non-dual realization, kaivalya, absolute freedom. He said, this is not belief, it is a systematic science of consciousness. Kumar, liberation is not given, it is realized through understanding and practice. The path is gradual, but the destination is the recognition of awareness as it truly is. Krishna answered gently, Kumar, truth does not require escaping life. It requires understanding life clearly. Spiritual maturity does not depend on leaving the world. It depends on transforming how one relates to it. He then explained the major paths. Karma Yoga, the path of action. Krishna said, act fully but do not cling to the outcome. This means perform your duties sincerely, give your best effort, but do not let success inflate the ego, and do not let failure destroy inner balance. The focus is on intention and integrity, not reward. Story, the farmer. A farmer plants seeds. The farmer prepares the soil, waters the field, protects the crop, but the farmer does not control rain, sunlight, or growth. Effort belongs to the farmer. Results belong to nature. Similarly, Karma Yoga teaches action without attachment. This gradually dissolves ego because identity stops depending on outcomes. Bhakti Yoga, the path of devotion. Krishna said, love the divine completely. Bhakti is devotion, surrender, heartfelt connection to ultimate reality. When love becomes sincere and steady, the sense of separation softens. The ego weakens not through force, but through affection and trust. Story, the child and the mother. A child feels safe in the presence of a loving mother. The child does not analyze safety, it feels it. Similarly, devotion creates inner security. When the heart feels connected to the sacred, fear reduces naturally.
Bhakti transforms emotion into spiritual energy.
Jnana Yoga, the path of knowledge. Krishna explained. Inquire deeply. Ask, what changes? What remains constant? What is temporary? What is eternal? Through discrimination, the mind learns to separate awareness from thoughts, self from ego, reality from appearance. This path uses reasoning and reflection. Story: the lamp in a dark room. When a lamp is lit, objects become distinguishable. Jnana Yoga is like turning on inner light. Confusion decreases because clarity increases. Dhyana Yoga, the path of meditation. Krishna said, meditation stabilizes consciousness. When attention becomes steady, thoughts slow down, awareness becomes continuous, mental noise decreases. Meditation is not suppression. It is training attention to remain stable. Over time, this leads toward deeper absorption. Dharma, living according to truth. Krishna explained, Dharma means acting in alignment with reality. It includes responsibility, fairness, honesty, and harmony with context. Dharma is not rigid rule-following. It is understanding what is appropriate in each situation. When actions align with truth, inner conflict reduces. Story: the instrument in tune. A musical instrument must be tuned properly. When life aligns with Dharma, it functions smoothly. When it is out of alignment, distortion appears. Vishvarupa, the cosmic form. Krishna then referred to a profound vision described in the tradition. In the experience called Vishvarupa, the universe is perceived as a single interconnected reality, not fragmented, not separate, but unified. This symbolizes realization that all forms arise within one consciousness. Nothing exists independently. Existence is a whole. It represents expanded awareness beyond limited identity. Story: the ocean and the waves. When waves are seen separately, they appear many, but when seen from a wider view, they are all water. Vishvarupa represents seeing reality from the level of unity rather than division. Integration of the paths. Krishna summarized, Karma Yoga refines action, Bhakti Yoga refines emotion, Jnana Yoga refines understanding, Dhyana Yoga refines attention, Dharma aligns behavior with truth. These are not competing paths, they support one another. A person can live fully in society while practicing inner transformation. Krishna concluded, you do not need to renounce life. Live ethically, act consciously, love sincerely, reflect deeply, meditate regularly. It is about understanding your true nature while living in it. Kumar realized that the spiritual path was not escape. It was integration, clarity, and conscious living. Krishna said calmly, the Puranas translate deep philosophy into stories that people can understand. Therefore, following tools used to understand symbols, myths, characters, battles, divine forms. They are teaching tools. The symbolism of the deities. Krishna explained that divine figures represent aspects of reality and consciousness. Shiva. Shiva represents meditation, inner stillness, transcendence, destruction of ignorance. Shiva is not merely a destroyer, he symbolizes the dissolving of illusion. When false identity dissolves, clarity remains, so Shiva represents awareness that remains when ego falls away. Story: the silent mountain. A mountain stands still while storms pass. Shiva represents that unshaken awareness. Meditation leads to inner stillness. That stillness removes confusion. This is symbolic destruction of ignorance. Vishnu represents preservation, harmony, maintenance of cosmic order, compassion. Vishnu symbolizes the principle that sustains balance in the universe. Where Shiva represents dissolution of illusion, Vishnu represents continuity and stability of life. Together, they reflect dynamic equilibrium. Story: the balance of nature. The body must both rest and function. Too much activity causes exhaustion. Too much stillness causes stagnation. Vishnu symbolizes sustaining balance. Devi Shakti. Devi represents energy, creativity, power of manifestation, dynamic force of reality. If Shiva represents pure awareness, Devi represents energy in motion. Together they symbolize consciousness and its power. Without energy, creation cannot occur. Without awareness, energy is blind. Story: electricity and light. Electricity alone is invisible, but when it flows through a bulb, light appears. Devi symbolizes the creative energy. Shiva symbolizes the witnessing awareness. Reality requires both principle and power. Demons as inner symbolism. Krishna clarified, in these stories, demons are not just external beings. They symbolize internal tendencies. Examples: ego, greed, anger, arrogance, ignorance. The battles represent psychological transformation. When divine forces defeat demons in stories, it symbolizes the victory of clarity over confusion. Story: the inner battlefield. Each person experiences internal conflict. Desire pulls one direction, wisdom pulls another. Anger arises, compassion responds. The real battle is within consciousness. When awareness becomes steady, negative tendencies lose dominance. Why stories were used. Krishna explained, not everyone connects with abstract philosophy. Stories engage emotion, teach morality, inspire devotion, communicate complex ideas simply. They make metaphysical ideas accessible. Krishna continued, now understand Tantra. Tantra means system, method, technique. It is not limited to ritual. It is a practical science of consciousness and energy. Core idea of Tantra. Tantra teaches that the world is not to be rejected. Energy is not to be suppressed. The body is not an obstacle. Instead, everything can be used as a path to awareness. Tantra and energy. Tantra studies breath, sound, visualization, mantra, chakras, subtle energy. It views reality as interaction between consciousness and energy. Story: using the same fire. Fire can cook food or burn a house. Tantra teaches how to use energy consciously. Desire can bind, but transformed it can become devotion. Emotion can disturb, but refined it can become spiritual intensity. Tantra's goal. Krishna said, the goal of Tantra is not escape, it is integration. It recognizes sacredness in ordinary life, consciousness in the body, divinity in energy. Tantra emphasizes transformation. Krishna concluded, the Puranas teach through symbolism. Shiva represents awareness. Vishnu represents balance. Devi represents creative energy. Demons represent inner obstacles. Tantra provides methods to work directly with body, breath, sound, and consciousness. All these traditions aim at the same realization, freedom through understanding. Kumar realized that mythology, philosophy, and practice were not separate systems, but different languages describing one unified path of consciousness. Krishna explained, Tantra teaches that nothing in existence is inherently impure. The body is not a mistake. Energy is not a problem. Desire is not automatically evil. The issue is unconscious use. Tantra means method or system. It provides practical techniques for working with body, breath, sound, awareness, and energy. Instead of rejecting life, Tantra refines it. Krishna said, whatever is experienced can become a path. Breath can become meditation. Sound can become mantra. Emotion can become devotion. Energy can become awareness. Tantra transforms ordinary experience into conscious practice. Under that, Kundalini, Krishna continued, Kundalini represents dormant spiritual potential. It is described as a latent energy at the base of the body. This does not mean a physical snake. It is symbolic language. Kundalini represents untapped awareness, compressed vitality, unexpressed consciousness. When awakened gradually and safely, it leads to higher clarity. Story: the coiled spring. Krishna said, imagine a tightly coiled spring. When released properly, it moves upward with force. If forced incorrectly, it can cause imbalance. Similarly, inner energy must be approached with preparation and discipline. Tantric systems emphasize gradual development. The chakras. Krishna explained, chakras are symbolic centers representing levels of consciousness. They are not just physical structures. They describe psychological and energetic patterns. Each chakra reflects a stage of development. Under that, 1. Survival level, root awareness, represents stability, grounding,
basic security, physical survival. When balanced, a person feels safe and steady. Under that, 2. Desire and emotion represents creativity, relationships, pleasure, emotional flow. Balanced energy here supports healthy connection. Under that, 3. Power and will represents confidence, self-discipline, transformation, personal strength. When balanced, action becomes effective and ethical. Under that, 4. Love and compassion represents empathy, forgiveness, openness, harmony. This level softens ego boundaries. Expression and communication represents truthful speech, creativity, clarity of expression. Balanced expression reduces internal conflict. Under that, 6. Insight and intuition represents deep understanding, perception beyond surface appearances, inner clarity. Here, meditation becomes natural. Under that, 7. Transcendence represents unity awareness, expanded consciousness, experience of interconnectedness. This level points toward realization beyond duality. Under that, how Tantra uses these centers. Krishna said, Tantra does not reject any level. Instead, it purifies energy, balances tendencies, elevates awareness progressively. Energy rises as understanding deepens. Awakening is not sudden explosion, it is structured refinement. Story: climbing a mountain. A mountain has many stages. Each stage offers a wider view. You do not jump to the peak. You ascend step by step. Similarly, spiritual development progresses through levels of awareness. Krishna emphasized, Kundalini awakening is not a competition. It is not about dramatic experiences. True awakening results in stability, compassion, clarity, humility, psychological balance. If practice creates instability, it is not aligned correctly. Tantra's core insight, Krishna summarized, the body is not an obstacle. Energy is not sinful. Life is not something to escape. Everything can become sacred when used consciously. Tantra integrates awareness, breath, mantra, visualization, ethical discipline, meditation. It is a comprehensive system. Krishna concluded, Tantra teaches transformation, not suppression. When energy becomes conscious, desire becomes devotion, emotion becomes compassion, and identity becomes awareness. Kumar understood that Tantra was not about extremes, but about disciplined, gradual elevation of consciousness through life itself. Krishna spoke calmly. Kumar, this teaching is symbolic. It describes how reality is experienced. Shiva, pure consciousness. Shiva represents awareness, stillness, witness consciousness, unchanging presence. He symbolizes the aspect of reality that does not move, does not change, does not act, simply observes. Shiva is like the sky, vast and unaffected by what appears within it. Story: the screen, Krishna said. When a movie plays, the screen remains unchanged. Explosions, rain, joy and sorrow appear, but the screen itself is not altered. Shiva represents that unchanging background. Shakti, dynamic energy. Shakti represents movement, creativity, power, expression, manifestation. She symbolizes the force through which universe appears, matter forms, life evolves, experiences arise. Without Shakti, nothing would appear. Story: electricity and light. Electricity in a wire is unseen, but when it flows, light appears in a bulb. Shakti is like that creative power. It makes manifestation possible. Their union, Krishna explained. Reality is not only consciousness, and not only energy, it is their interaction. Pure awareness, Shiva, and creative power, Shakti, together produce experience. This union symbolizes the dynamic nature of existence. Story: ocean and waves. The ocean is still in essence, but waves move on its surface. Shiva represents the depth. Shakti represents the movement. Waves are not separate from the ocean. Movement does not exist without water. Similarly, consciousness and energy are inseparable aspects of one reality. Philosophical meaning, Krishna continued. If consciousness had no power, nothing would appear. If energy had no awareness, it would have no direction. Awareness without energy would be static. Energy without awareness would be chaotic. Their union allows order, intelligence, creation, experience. In human experience,
This symbolism also applies internally. Awareness, Shiva, is the observer. Thoughts, emotions, and actions, Shakti, are movements within awareness. When they are harmonized, life becomes balanced. When identification occurs only with movement, confusion arises. Tantric perspective. In Tantra, this union is central. Tantra teaches that consciousness and energy are not separate realities. They are two aspects of the same existence. Spiritual practice aims to recognize this unity directly. Story, light and illumination. Krishna said, "Light alone cannot illuminate without something to shine upon." Similarly, consciousness and manifestation coexist. The recognition of their unity reduces inner division. Krishna concluded, Shiva represents the unchanging ground of being. Shakti represents the dynamic expression of that being. Reality is their unity. This means existence is both still and active, both awareness and movement, both silence and vibration. When this unity is understood, the sense of separation dissolves, and perception becomes whole. Kumar realized that this teaching was not about mythology, but about describing the structure of experience itself. Krishna said, "Now listen carefully. These are not rival religions. They are different philosophical interpretations of the same reality." He was referring to Vedanta, the system that develops the conclusions of the Upanishads. Different teachers interpreted that insight in different ways. Advaita Vedanta, associated with Adi Shankaracharya. Advaita means non-dual, core teaching. Only Brahman is ultimately real. The individual self, Atman, is not separate from Brahman. Perceived separation is due to ignorance, avidya. When ignorance dissolves, unity is directly realized. In this view, the world appears as many, but the underlying reality is one consciousness. Story, the rope and the snake. In dim light, a rope is mistaken for a snake. When light appears, the snake disappears, not because something was removed, but because misunderstanding ended. Advaita says, separation is like that snake. Unity is the rope. Vishishtadvaita, associated with Ramanujacharya. Vishishtadvaita means qualified non-dualism, core teaching. Reality is one, but within that unity distinctions are meaningful. Souls and the divine are distinct yet inseparable. The universe is the body of God. Here, unity does not erase difference. Difference exists, but within one greater whole. Story, the body and the soul. A human body has many organs. Each organ is distinct, but all belong to one living being. Similarly, individual souls exist, but they are parts of a unified divine reality. Unity with diversity is emphasized. Dvaita, associated with Madhvacharya. Dvaita means dualism, core teaching. God and individual souls are eternally distinct. The soul depends on God. The relationship is real and permanent. Liberation does not remove distinction. Here, devotion and dependence on God are central. Unity is not identity, it is relationship. Story, the king and the citizen. The king and citizen are not the same, they are different, but the citizen depends on the king's order and protection. Similarly, God and soul remain distinct, yet connected through devotion and grace. Why different views exist? Krishna explained, these philosophies describe different levels of understanding. They may appear contradictory, but they often reflect different interpretations of ultimate reality. Advaita emphasizes absolute unity. Vishishtadvaita emphasizes unity with meaningful diversity. Dvaita emphasizes eternal distinction and devotion. Each system developed within the broader Vedanta tradition. Are they all correct? Krishna said, each perspective serves different temperaments. Some people understand truth best through non-dual inquiry, some through devotional relationship, some through structured distinction. Spiritual traditions accommodate different paths toward realization. Common goal, despite differences, all three aim toward understanding reality, reducing ignorance, deepening ethical living, and moving toward liberation. They differ in metaphysical explanation, but share the goal of freedom from suffering. Final reflection. Krishna concluded, Vedanta is not a single opinion. It is a philosophical framework where great teachers analyzed the nature of reality. Advaita says unity alone is real. Vishishtadvaita says unity with diversity. Dvaita says relationship between soul and God is eternal. Each offers a coherent vision. Kumar realized that philosophy within Vedanta was not confusion, but a sophisticated dialogue about the deepest nature of existence. Krishna said, "Now understand. Different traditions describe reality in different ways, but many share similar ethical and meditative foundations." He was referring to two major traditions, Buddhism and Jainism. Buddhism core agreements with other traditions. Buddhism strongly emphasizes suffering, dukkha. Life includes dissatisfaction and stress. Meditation, direct observation of mind. Liberation, nirvana, freedom from suffering. Impermanence, anicca. All conditioned things change. These ideas are central to teachings associated with the Gautama Buddha, rejection of permanent self. One key difference: Buddhism rejects the idea of a permanent, unchanging soul, Atman. This doctrine is known as anatta, non-self. It teaches that what we call self is actually a combination of body, sensations, perceptions, mental formations, consciousness. These 5 components are called the 5 aggregates. Since all of them change, none is permanent. Therefore, clinging to a fixed identity causes suffering. Story: the chariot. A chariot is made of wheels, axle, frame, reins. If you remove the parts, there is no separate chariot entity. Similarly, the self is a convenient label for changing processes. Buddhism teaches freedom by seeing this clearly. Liberation in Buddhism. Liberation is achieved through ethical conduct, mindfulness, meditation, wisdom. This path is often structured as the Noble Eightfold Path. When attachment and ignorance end, nirvana is realized. Nirvana is described as cessation of craving, peace beyond suffering. Jainism. Jainism is associated with teachings of the Mahavira. 1. Radical nonviolence known as ahimsa. Ahimsa in Jainism is extremely strict. Avoid harming any living being, including very small organisms, in thought, speech, and action. Nonviolence is considered the highest spiritual principle. 2. Ascetic purification. Jainism emphasizes disciplined living, minimal possessions, self-control, fasting practices, careful behavior. The goal is inner purification. 3. Karma cleansing. In Jain philosophy, karma is understood as subtle material particles that attach to the soul due to actions and intentions. Liberation occurs when karmic particles are removed through ethical conduct, austerity, and meditation. This state of liberation is called moksha in Jainism as well. Story: the mirror. Imagine a mirror covered in dust. The mirror is naturally reflective, but dust prevents clarity. Through discipline and purification, the dust is removed and the mirror reflects clearly. Jainism teaches that the soul is naturally pure, but karma obscures it. Comparison in simple terms. Buddhism focuses on impermanence and non-self. Liberation comes from ending attachment and ignorance. Jainism accepts a permanent soul. Liberation comes from removing karmic matter through discipline. Both emphasize ethical conduct, meditation, self-effort, liberation from suffering. Krishna's balanced reflection. Krishna concluded, these traditions may differ in metaphysical explanation, but they share deep commitment to compassion, awareness, discipline, and liberation. Some emphasize non-self, some emphasize purification of the soul, some emphasize unity of consciousness. Each system developed within the broader spiritual culture of India, offering distinct philosophical frameworks. Kumar understood that spiritual traditions can differ in theory, yet still aim at reducing suffering and increasing clarity. Krishna said, Kumar, all these paths are not separate roads, they are different dimensions of one complete human development. He explained that spirituality is not only belief, it is a full system of transformation, covering behavior, mind, emotion, energy, and realization. Below is the integrated view. Ethics, Yama and Dharma. Ethics is the foundation. Yama refers to universal moral disciplines such as nonviolence and truthfulness. Dharma means living in harmony with truth and responsibility. Without ethics, the mind remains conflicted. Meditation becomes unstable. Inner growth becomes distorted. Ethics creates inner clarity and social harmony. Psychology, yoga. In classical philosophy, psychology is addressed through yoga. Yoga studies thoughts, emotions, habits, mental fluctuations. The goal is not suppression, but mastery of attention. Yoga provides techniques to regulate the mind and create inner stability. Consciousness, Upanishadic inquiry. The deepest psychological and philosophical exploration appears in the Upanishads. They ask, who am I? What is reality? What is awareness? This inquiry leads to understanding the nature of the self and ultimate reality. Devotion, bhakti. Bhakti is the path of love and surrender. It transforms emotion into spiritual energy. Instead of intellectual analysis alone, the heart becomes the vehicle of realization. Devotion reduces ego through love and trust. Wisdom, jnana. Jnana is the path of discrimination and insight. It asks, what is real? What is eternal? This path involves deep inquiry, leading to wisdom and liberation. And so, Kumar listened and understood that the paths of spiritual development intertwine. What is permanent? What is changing? What is the self? Through reasoning and contemplation, ignorance dissolves. This path emphasizes clarity of understanding. Action, karma yoga. Karma yoga means performing duties without attachment to results. It transforms daily work into spiritual practice. This path integrates spirituality into ordinary life. Energy, tantra. Tantra focuses on working with body, breath, sound, and subtle energy. It does not reject the physical world. It refines and elevates energy consciously. Tantra views reality as consciousness and energy in dynamic interaction. Meditation, Dhyana. Dhyana means sustained meditation. Here, attention becomes continuous. Mental noise decreases. Awareness becomes stable. Meditation integrates the previous practices into direct experience. Liberation, Moksha. The ultimate goal is moksha. Moksha means freedom from ignorance, freedom from compulsive patterns, freedom from suffering, realization of true nature. Different traditions describe it differently, but it generally signifies liberation of consciousness. How all dimensions connect. Krishna explained the sequence. Ethics stabilizes life. Psychology refines the mind. Devotion softens the heart. Wisdom clarifies understanding. Action purifies behavior. Energy work transforms vitality. Meditation integrates experience. Liberation is the natural result of full maturity. These are not competing systems. They are complementary aspects of complete human development. Krishna explained the sequence. A tree needs roots, trunk, branches, leaves, flowers, fruit. If any part is missing, growth is incomplete. Similarly, human development requires multiple dimensions. Ethics are the roots, wisdom is the trunk, devotion and action are branches, meditation is the flowering, liberation is the fruit. Krishna concluded, when all dimensions are cultivated harmoniously, life becomes balanced, mind becomes clear, heart becomes open, energy becomes refined, and awareness recognizes itself. Kumar understood that spirituality is not a single technique, but a complete architecture of human evolution. Krishna looked at Kumar and said, this sequence is not a story of events in the world. It is a map of inner transformation. He explained each step as a stage in human development. 1. Cosmic order is perceived. At first, a person notices that life is not random. There is structure, seasons, birth and death, cause and effect, moral consequences. This awareness of order is often described in early Vedic thought as the principle of cosmic harmony. When a person sees order, curiosity begins. 2. Human suffering is observed. Life also contains dissatisfaction, loss, fear, change, limitation. This recognition becomes central in traditions like Buddhism, which begins with the understanding of suffering, dukkha. The question arises, why does suffering persist? 3. Self-inquiry begins. The seeker turns inward. Instead of only changing the external world, attention shifts to identity, mind, awareness. This inquiry is strongly emphasized in the Upanishads, especially the question, who am I? 4. Atman and Brahman are realized. In the Vedantic vision found in Vedanta, the inquiry leads to realization of Atman, the inner self. Brahman, ultimate reality. In traditions such as Advaita Vedanta, this realization culminates in the insight that the deepest self and ultimate reality are not separate. This marks a major shift in understanding. Understood. 5. Karma and samsara are understood. The seeker then comprehends. Actions create consequences. Mental impressions shape experience. Repeated patterns form cycles. This is the doctrine of karma. The cycle of birth and rebirth is called samsara. Understanding this explains why suffering continues across experiences.
Understood.
6. Yoga develops practical methods. Philosophy becomes practice. The system of inner discipline described in yoga, especially as codified in the Yoga Sutras, provides techniques for mental mastery. Yoga transforms insight into method. 7. Ethics purify life. The foundation of practice includes moral discipline, such as Yama, Dharma. Ethical living reduces inner conflict and stabilizes the mind. Without this stage, deeper meditation lacks grounding. 8. Breath steadies the mind through pranayama. Breath is regulated. Since breath influences the nervous system, controlling breath helps calm mental fluctuations. The body becomes stable. The mind becomes quiet. Ops. 9. Meditation deepens awareness through dhyana. Attention becomes continuous and steady. Gradually, distractions decrease. Awareness becomes clear. Observation becomes effortless. 10. Ego dissolves. As identification with thoughts weakens, the sense of separate I softens. In some traditions, this is described as understanding the non-permanent nature of identity. In others, it is the refinement of the self toward unity with reality. 11. Consciousness realizes itself. At this stage, awareness recognizes its own nature. Different traditions describe this differently. Non-dual traditions describe identity of self and absolute reality. Devotional traditions describe union through grace. Other traditions emphasize relationship or purification. 12. Liberation occurs. The final stage is moksha, freedom. Liberation means freedom from ignorance, freedom from compulsive identification, freedom from suffering patterns, freedom from cycles of bondage. It is not escape from life, but clarity within life. They are experienced, but they are not the experiencer. Op 2. Your true nature. Krishna says your true nature is pure consciousness. Atman, the inner witness. It is aware of thoughts, aware of emotions, aware of the body, yet not limited by them. This awareness is constant. Op 3. Why suffering happens. Suffering begins when we mistakenly identify with temporary things. This confusion is often called avidya, ignorance. When we think, I am only this body, I am only my success, I am only my fear, we feel vulnerable and limited, but when awareness recognizes itself, fear reduces. Op 4. How the path works. Krishna then summarized the tools. Yoga purifies the mind. Through yoga, mental fluctuations become calmer. The classical system described in the Yoga Sutras teaches that stilling mental activity reveals deeper awareness. Knowledge removes ignorance. Through self-inquiry and reflection found in Dhyana, misunderstanding dissolves. Clarity replaces confusion. Devotion dissolves ego. Through bhakti, the sense of separation softens. Love reduces self-centeredness. Meditation reveals awareness. Through dhyana, attention becomes steady. When the mind becomes quiet, awareness is experienced directly. Selfless action purifies attachment.
Through karma yoga, actions are performed without obsession over results.
This reduces ego reinforcement. Breath steadies consciousness. Through pranayama, breath regulation calms the nervous system and supports inner stability. Inner stillness reveals truth. When thoughts slow down, the background awareness becomes clearer. This stillness is not emptiness. It is conscious presence. 1-7. The names of realization. Different traditions describe the final realization with different terms. Moksha, liberation from suffering. Kaivalya, absolute independence of consciousness. Self-realization, direct recognition of true nature. God realization, recognition of ultimate reality. The language differs, but the experience points toward freedom from ignorance and identification. Story. The cloud in the sky. Clouds move across the sky. Clouds may be dark, bright, large, or small, but the sky remains unchanged. When clouds disappear, nothing new is created. Only clarity appears. Similarly, when ignorance dissolves, nothing is added. Only recognition occurs. Krishna's final point is simple. You are not limited by changing experiences. Awareness is always present. Liberation is recognizing this directly. It is not becoming something new. It is understanding what has always been true. Kumar sat quietly. The mind became still not because it was forced, but because understanding reduced inner conflict. In that silence there was no struggle, no identity to defend, no fear to protect. Only awareness, clear, simple, and present. And that is how the teaching ends, not with more words, but with direct recognition.